You can turn your cell phones off. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All modern illnesses have a connection to stress. Whatever's happening in the software is going to express into the hardware. To be more specific about this, in the year 1800, around that time, what percentage of the world's population was literate, could read and write? Could. Take a guess. 5%? 15%. 15 out of 100 people were able to read and write. Now fast forward 200 years. What percentage of the world's population cannot read and write? Is illiterate? 15%. 15 out of 100 people cannot read and write. Fascinating that 70% more people in the world can read and write, yet that's not translating into happiness. Conversely, it may be causing stress, illness, which makes us question when we go to school for decades. I went to school for 20 years, and I'm one of the least schooled people in this room. For 20 years. What's happening? We're receiving information. Just like the internet gives us information, a brochure gives us information. But we're not receiving an education. The word jnana means that which quietens the mind. Our degrees, our specialties, are they quietening your mind? And if they are, that's an education. If it's not quietening the mind, it's not an education, it's simply information. Our present responsibility is to learn to be happy. And then our long-term responsibility is to learn to be happiness. First, you have to learn to be happy before you can learn to be happiness, which is the vision of this workshop. We can study the Brahma Sutras, we can study Kishkinda Kanda, we can study Atma Bodha, etc., etc., etc. But if it's not a catalyst to me being happy, I'm never going to be happiness. The happiness workshop. And we've been given a plan. Plan number 1 is associate with quality. Did I say people or friends? Friends. Associate with quality friends. Number 2, focus on quality work. Number 3, invest in quality thoughts. Number 4, read about aloneness. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I'm coming out of my anxiety, my stress, I need to make better use of this opportunity. So, step number 5 is unitask routine. Unitask routine. When people text and drive, they're 23 times more likely to get into an accident. It's worse to text and drive than drink and drive. That would be a pretty strong message to say, hey, drink and drive instead of text and drive. It would be. I didn't say I'm saying that. 4, 5, 6. 6 is utilize planners. Utilize lists. 7, undertake more. Today, or your evening at least, would have been much more aligned because you had to be here. You undertook more, so you finished your paperwork faster. You took a route that had less traffic and didn't make mistakes when taking exits. And 8 was saying no. A huge sign of ego is not being able to say no. So these are all ways of creating balance. From loneliness to aloneness, living takes time. Now we're going to focus on learning the habit to be happy. Learning the habit to be happy. What do you think the most happy work is? What profession, what career has the highest percentages of satisfaction? Take a guess. Doctors, teachers. Give me one more. Creative fields. The answer, according to numerous studies published by Time magazine, is clergy. People doing work to direct people to the higher. I think this is true. I've been unemployed since 2005. I'm doing all right. Number 2, firefighters. Number 2 is firefighters. Number 3, people who collect tickets. Tickets to concerts, movies, etc. There's so much excitement, right? That you're, as if you're a cause for that to happen. You're part of the band. So clergy, firefighters, and ticket collectors to celebrations. What would be surprising is physicians are 11. 11 on this list. Pharmacists are 28. 28. Because it appears that being a physician or a pharmacist is overtly work that you're connecting to people, you're helping people, and factually it's true, objectively it's true, but maybe the software is not aligned with that. That's the point of this study. Okay, here's another study for you. I'm going to give you 4 age ranges. You have to give me the percentage of people in that age range that are happy. 18 to 24-year-olds. What percentage of them are happy? 5. Whoa. Time is tight today, so I'm going to move fast. The answer is 27%. 1 in 4 people who we would classify as young are chicks, or Chinmaya, Vivek. Their numbers would be much higher, but generally that age range, 1 in 4. Okay. 35 to 44-year-olds. What percentage of them are happy? Give me a number. 30. Okay, I heard 30. 33%. So our Setukaris are happier than our chicks, those who are older. 55 to 64-year-olds. This demographic is quite young. Seattle, the Chinmaya mission here is quite young. There's not so many people in this. 55 to 64-year-olds, what percentage is happy? 40, 50. The answer is 35. And those over 65, what percentage are happy? 20. You're saying it with such disgust. 20. 38. Every decade or range became happier and happier and happier, which is so opposite to what we project. What this is showing is happiness is not context dependent, it is content dependent. You can be a pharmacist where you're helping people and still be less happy than someone who collects movie tickets. You can be 70 years old and have no grandkids and still be happier than a 40-year-old with 7 kids. Obviously, they're going to be unhappy. When I share this word, being happy with one's content, being content, what other words would describe someone who's content? Someone who's inwardly happy. How else would you describe them? I gave you their profession and their age. You give me some more. How do you describe happy people?
Grateful.
They're grateful. Right on.
They accept who they are.
They're accepting of themselves, of others. They're relaxed. Confident. All good words, but not the best words.
Positive, forgiving, peaceful.
They're responsible. Happy people, those who are focused on content, are responsible. In Vedanta, we would use the word, they're dharmic. There's so much integrity in them, body, mind, intellect. That integrity, that dharma, they're the most dependable. They're the ones who are always thinking about the other person rather than themselves. They are least likely to make excuses. They're least likely to blame. We, sitting here in our study groups, in our jnana yajnas, we believe that happiness is in the content, in the software, inside. We believe it. That's why you come each evening. Yet we still have faith that happiness is in the context. We say one thing but think another, and a fine example of that is how we're creating security. How are you creating security in your life? Tell me, what is your plan for security?
More money.
Exactly. Different accounts. Instead of one account, now I have 3 accounts. One for today, one for tomorrow, one for 10 years from now. More gated communities, right? More alarm systems. More data in the cloud rather than in a device. See how we externalize security? You can have all of that and still feel insecure, correct? That's what I'm sharing, is that we still have faith that happiness is in the context. The way that Swami Tejomayananda shares this, he says that we all campaign for Brahman, yet when it comes time to voting, we vote for Maya. Correct? When you externalize security, what comes with it is regrets of the past and anxieties of the future. That I didn't create enough security, or I'm not creating enough security. What is the happiest country in the world right now? Denmark, Sweden. The Scandinavian countries are always switching positions. They're giving each other turns. Right now it's Finland. And what is fascinating about that is, suppose Finland's the happiest, satsang works. Right? All of the countries close to Finland are happy too. What is the average income of those who live in Finland? Numbers, just guess. 50,000? It's 45,000 US dollars. 45. How happy is America? Give me a number. If Finland's 1, 5, you're too optimistic.
Oh wait, no. I thought they're doing like percentage-wise.
18. America's 18 on this list. The America. The America that you chose to immigrate to. You chose to, I never did. 18. What is the average income of an American? 60,000. 60,000. And it shows that income is not directly related to happiness. Is not. If you drive 2.5 hours from here, you'll be in another country. Canada's number 5 on the list. 2.5 hours. It's not like we're geographically so different. The weather in Vancouver is going to be the weather in Seattle. But there's a culture change there. There's less focus on external security. When someone has a child, parental leave in Canada is up to a year. In Denmark, it's 3 years. That's the progressiveness of a nation, isn't it? Not 6 weeks. If someone gets 3 months, it's like they hit the lottery. When in Vedic culture, in Ayurveda, there's a sharing. I'm not a specialist in Ayurveda. I don't even know if I subscribe to this fact, but it takes a baby's body 4 years to recover from having a child. 4 years. And I feel that so many of us have to go back to focusing on income or security right away, 4 weeks. Happiness, I'm giving you different frameworks, is not in implementation. It is in your intention. How Bhagavan Krishna hammers this point, the difference between karma and karma yoga is the yoga, is the intention, not the implementation. Shared in simpler terms, when I live by implementation or context, I'm using sight. What is the English word for rishi? A seer. A seer, someone who's not using sight but is using vision. They are visionaries. They can see where people are going to go. They can see how people need help. Rishi Vyasa knew people were going to be distracted, so he took the Veda and turned it into Vedas. He edited it into 4 volumes. Our son's name is Vyasa, so when people ask, what's your son's name? We don't say editor. I say visionary. He edited because he's a visionary. The editing is just the effect. The cause is being a visionary. With this in mind, I'm now going to share with all of you 4 visions, vision statements. Not outsights, but insights. And as I share these, every one of you already knows this. And I'm just reminding you of what you already know. The first vision statement, the insight, is to be remembered in the AM, in the morning, particularly when your alarm clock is going off. You fill in the blank. Ready? Here's a vision statement. Work never blank anyone. Fill in the blank. English word. Kills, you're too violent. Hurts, good enough. Work never harmed anyone. I'm playing on the word himsa. Himsa means harm. Work never harmed anyone. You must know people who are not working professionally, are not engaged in social work as in service, are not studying. Those people are alive, but they're the walking dead, isn't it? What time they wake up, what they eat. Not working harms people. Working, and again, I'm not taking it professionally only. I remind all of you, I've not worked professionally since spring of 2005. That was 14 years ago. It was the last time I worked professionally. But I think I work harder and smarter now than ever. Work is a form of management. When you have to work, your time has to be managed, your finances have to be managed, and the biggest thing is your relationships have to be managed. If I'm not working, I can hide behind a screen all day, correct? Pretend that I'm connecting with people. Fortnite, my friends are the characters on Fortnite. But if you have to go to work, if you have to come to these classes, if you have to go to school, you have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to listen to people. Work never harmed anyone. It's a form of management. This has to be remembered in the morning. When you think waking up is going to harm you, it's not going to harm you. Get up. So now you're up. You're engaged in what you're doing. Now it's noon. You just had lunch, and right after your noon lunch comes tamas. You know, you wish you were in India where everyone slept after lunch. Which I do advocate. I'm putting this on record. You should insist in your workplaces that there should be sleep pods. Or stretchers, right? Some of you have stretchers in your in your workplaces. Your second vision statement has to be remembered at the noon hour, that time frame. The more you work, comma, the more you blank work. The more you work, the more you blank work. What's that blank? Love, enjoy. In a lot of corporate settings, when I say this, they say hate. Their managers are sitting right there. The answer is will. The more you work, the more you will work. And this is more evident in athletics. If you're a hard worker on a sports team, on the Seahawks, if you're a good runner, the more you run, the more you're going to be given the ball, correct? It's not a criticism to be given more work, it's a compliment. Someone feels you can do it, which is why they're asking you. Anyone who works with people, suppose I ask you to do work, but I feel you're going to drop the ball, you're not going to do a good job. Eventually it's going to become more work on me, correct? So if someone is giving you more work, they're complimenting you. With a change in vision, you have a change in everything. Relatedly, you have to matter to the system to change the system. If you don't matter to the system, you can't change the system. Very objectively, I mean nothing to America because I can't vote. I'm not a Canadian, I'm not an American citizen. Correct? We often complain about city culture, mandir culture, hospital culture, school culture, whatever that culture is. Do you matter to that system? Do you matter to that culture? And you will not matter if the more you work, the more you will work. Those who work the most matter, correct? Third vision statement, which is to be remembered in the PM, in the evening, when you left school, when you left your home, and you had to come here. Work never, fill in the blank, ends. You're all feeling that deeply right now. Work never ends. You finish your professional work, there's a whole new field of work at home, correct? You finish your schoolwork, there's a whole new field of homework then. In my life, I have a lot of administration, and we give Vyasa a bath, we feed Vyasa, we put Vyasa to bed, and then we have to clean up after him. We have to prepare for tomorrow, and then give discourses. And then time for Sheila and I. Right? There's no end to work. And when I know it, when I have this vision, I learn. I find out what my enough is. I find out what my enough is. I'll give you a very practical example. One yajna we should all engage in is called clean sink yajna. Before you go to sleep, ensure that your sink in your kitchen is clean. Correct? That's a very practical yajna. But there's some days where you just can't have that clean sink. And you should be okay with that. That's what knowing you're enough is. I just have to sleep now, and I'll take care of the sink tomorrow. This word, the Sanskrit word for enough is very beautiful. It's alam, A-L-A-M, alam. When you create the opposite of alam, it becomes analaha, which in English means fire. For a fire, there's never enough, correct? A forest fire can burn down all of California, and that will not be enough. We all have to know what our enough is when it comes to taking up work. You have to sleep. You have to learn to say no. I mentioned that already. Etc., etc., etc. To know when enough is. I originally was going to come to Seattle for 4 days and go to Portland for 6. 10 days. But then I became more in tune with Sheila's 8.5 weeks, months pregnant right now. Vyasa's more active. I can't be away for 7 days. So I had to condense everything I was going to do in 10 days in 7 days now. From Wednesday to Wednesday. My enough, I'm clear about my enough, is 7 days. I will not be away from my familial responsibilities for more than that. And it's really lovely because I'm not thinking about that. I don't have anxiety of what did I do. And it's really cool because my family's in tune with that too. But if I stayed for one more day, I would be thinking, I should have gone home. Maybe feeling, why aren't you here to wake up with Vyasa, as an example? He has a sleep sack, so only his arms stick out, okay? And now he knows how to open his door. He sleeps in another room on a bed. And it's really scary because when he couldn't open the door, he'd go back to sleep. Now that he opens the door, sometimes I have to run over there and hold the door so he goes back to sleep. It sounds negligent, but he needs to sleep more. I need to sleep more. But these mornings he's been opening the door and coming to Sheila's side of the bed. Our bedroom's right beside that. And he's looking at her and going, Appa, Appa. I like it. So, your first vision statement is? Work never harmed anyone. When should you remember that? In the morning. Second vision statement? The more you work, the more you will work. When do you have to remember that? Daytime. Third vision statement? Work never ends. When do you have to remember that? Evening. Now I'll share with you the fourth vision statement. This is the most important. It is beyond time. Why you work, blank your work. Why you work, blank your work. Defines is a good word. Anyone else want to guess?
Sustains.
Sustains is also good. Dictates, all you're in the right direction. Pulls. Why you work, pulls your work. If your why is shallow, your pull is going to be shallow. If your why is deep, your pull is going to be deep. Why are you working? For many young adults, many evolving adults, there's this trajectory. I'm supposed to go to college. I'm supposed to get this job. I'm supposed to get married. I'm supposed to have a child, etc., etc. If your why is I'm supposed to, as soon as you experience or achieve that, what emotion do you feel? What next? Wherever there's a I'm supposed to, if I'm supposed to, then what next? It's an if-then model. But if your why is I'm not supposed to, the why is I want to, this is my passion, this will help me grow, you never feel what next. You're already doing what you like, what you love. There is no what next. Success is self-development. If you go to work to become more patient and disciplined and loving, etc., that's success. Not GDP, not how many people you employ. It is self-development. And there's a lovely quote to encapsulate this. Do not educate your children to be rich. Educate them to be happy. So when they grow up, they'll know the value of things and not the price. A happy person knows that air is valuable, time is valuable, relationships are valuable. If someone is not happy, they're focused on the external, they only know the price. Her bag is worth that much, his car is worth that much. This many people know me and not you. Our society is defined by Kali. Kali, I shared, is that which is fast. So social media is natural in Kali Yuga. How quickly emails go, text messages go. In a time of Kali, we try to do more than we can. Right? Multitasking. I talked a lot about that. In a time of Kali, society encourages complacency. Complacency. Everyone is so busy that there's no thought, there's no opportunity to change. Just keep doing, right? That's what busyness is. We all try to be happier. We try to eat less. We try to be more patient, etc. So we do lift ourselves, but if you're lifting yourself, you're also going to fall. You're also going to drop. When we're too busy to stand up again, that stress devolves into anxiety. Anxiety devolves into depression. And what is the end of depression? Suicide. The third leading cause of death amongst teenagers in America is suicide. I was sharing that Madhavaya does social work. He does his master's in social work. There's a bridge in St. Catharines, which is near where he and I live. And they refurbished it. And now that it's open to the public, every week someone is jumping off that bridge onto the highway. It's now a suicide haven. Niagara Falls is too, right? People jump into the water all the time. They find bodies downriver. So now they're thinking, we should create higher walls or create netting. But it's just a reactive solution. It's not focusing on what I'm trying to describe here, that we're going to fall, but we have to try again. It's called resiliency, right? An elastic gets stretched, but then it goes back. If it's a strong elastic, back to its nature. We think we're born resilient, but that's a lie. You can train yourself in resiliency in 3 ways. And this is my last message on our happiness workshop, is to train ourselves in resiliency by, number 1, exercise. The more I'm in the sun, the more I feel like being healthy. Being in nature makes you feel natural. Number 2 is examples. When you're around people who are resilient, you feel you can do it too. Who's Roger Bannister? The first person to run the 4-minute mile. Within weeks of him running it, lots of people did. Because they had an example that the body can be made to move that fast. And last is ethics. Ethics. Which is, I watched 2 episodes of Netflix, but I'm going to stop myself now. The ethical thing to do is go to sleep. Despite me being an hour late, I shouldn't be 2 hours late. But someone without ethics or that framework Just let that circle run, that red circle run again and again and again, correct? So going through what we focused on today before we get into our practice. Happiness is not determined by your profession. I gave you numbers based on that. Happiness is not determined by your age. I gave you numbers on that. Happiness is based on the content, since it's not based on the context. Someone who's developing the habit to be independently joyous, based on the content, they're responsible. They find contentment in their responsibilities as a spouse, as a professional, as a sevika, as a citizen. Sometimes we just lose energy, we lose enthusiasm. So come those vision statements that capture the intellect to bring the body and mind back into strength, into alignment. Work never harmed anyone. The more you work, the more you will. Work never. Why you work pulls your work. Keep on developing the habit of rising, of evolving, and we will fall. In our busyness, we allow falling to become failure. Someone who feels they're a failure, they may express that as depression, as I referenced. Resiliency, exercise more. Have role models. Study subjective sciences that focus on ethics. Please have a fresh sheet of paper. If you need paper or pens, you can put your hand up and magically they'll appear before you. How do you determine what's important to you? How do you determine what's important to you? You know what's important to you when you're placed in a circumstance of high tension. Then your real personality comes out with the words you use, the thoughts you think. We see that with Duryodhana. When the war is about to start, how negatively he speaks about Dronacharya, Bhishmacharya. Bhagavan Krishna never ridicules, Prince Arjuna never ridicules Bhagavan Krishna. No, it shows his personality. Many studies I've read show that people who survive breast cancer are just happier post-breast cancer than pre-breast cancer. They're so much more grateful for that second chance. That high tension showed them to focus on the inside rather than the outside. This practice is called stuck in samsara. And I'm going to read fast because that's how Kali is. And I have a flight to catch. You have chartered a yacht with 3 friends for the holiday trip of a lifetime across the Atlantic Ocean. Because none of you have any previous sailing experience because you're people of Indian origin. You have hired an experienced skipper and 2-person crew. Unfortunately, in mid-Atlantic, a fierce fire breaks out in the ship's galley and the skipper and crew have been lost while trying to fight the blaze. Much of the yacht is destroyed and slowly sinking. Your location is unclear because vital navigational and radio equipment have been damaged in the fire. Your best estimate is that you are many hundreds of miles from the nearest landfall. You have managed to save 15 items, undamaged and intact after the fire. In addition, you have salvaged a 4-person rubber life craft and a box of matches. Your task is to rank the 15 items I'm about to read to you from the most important to the least important in terms of helping you be rescued, in terms of your survival. Got it? I'm not going to reread these, so please write them down right away. You're going to have to write down all 15 of these items. Number 1, a sextant, which really, does anyone here know what that is? It measures longitude and latitude. It's a measuring device. 2, a shaving mirror. Write in short form. You don't need to know the exact details. 3, a quantity of mosquito netting. 4, a 25-liter container of water. That's approximately 6 gallons. 5, a case of army rations. 6, maps of the Atlantic Ocean. 7, a floating seat cushion. 8, a 10-liter can of oil, petrol mixture. A 10-liter container of fuel. That's number 8. Number 9, a small transistor radio. Small transistor radio. 10, 20 square feet of opaque plastic sheeting, like a tarp. Imagine a tarp. 11, a can of shark repellent. A can of shark repellent. 12, 1 bottle of 160 proof rum. A bottle of 160 proof rum. 13, 15 feet of nylon rope. 15 feet of nylon rope. 14, 2 boxes of chocolate bars. 2 boxes of chocolate bars. And 15, an ocean fishing kit and pole. An ocean fishing kit and pole. You have 5 minutes to put these in order from most important to least important. Most important is number 1, least important is 15. Do this by yourself. And if you have questions, please ask. Go.
The goal is, so most important for survival or most important to be rescued specifically?
I would presume they're the same, but you can interpret it as to be rescued. I don't want to survive, I just want to be rescued. So to be rescued.
At a specific time of the day or night.
You're going to experience a lot of days and nights being stuck in the Atlantic Ocean, so you can presume multiple days and nights. Two minutes. Moment of high tension. 30 seconds. Everyone done? These 5 minutes will determine if you live or die. According to the experts, in this case the U.S. Coast Guard, I repeat, not Vivek. I don't know what any of this means. The basic supplies needed when a person is stranded mid-ocean are articles to attract attention and aid survival until rescue arrives. A transatlantic trip takes roughly 20 days, significantly less with good winds and significantly more without them. Articles of navigation are of little importance, since even if a small life raft were capable of reaching land, it would be impossible to store enough food and water to survive for that amount of time. Really what they're saying is give up. Surrender, Har Har Mahadev. Without signaling devices, there is almost no chance of being spotted and rescued. So the list below is a ranking order of the items according to their importance for your survival. As I read these, if I say that this is 7th most important and you wrote 15, beside that you're going to write 8. The difference between the Coast Guard and what you wrote, that difference. No plus or minus, just the difference. How far you are off of that, okay? If you have what the Coast Guard wrote, your difference will be 0. A sextant. One person, just tell me what you wrote. 12. The answer is 15. It is useless without the relevant tables and other measuring devices. 15. A shaving mirror. Different person, give me their number. 1. Number 1. Of all the items, the mirror is absolutely critical. It is the most powerful tool you have for communicating your presence. In sunlight, a simple mirror can generate 5 to 7 million candle power of light. The beam can be seen beyond the horizon. Number 1 is that mirror. Mosquito netting, different person, tell me your number. 14. The answer is 14. There are no mosquitoes in the middle of the ocean. And if there are, who cares? The netting is useless for anything else. It's thin. 25-liter container of water. Someone else? 1. The answer is 3. Vital to restore fluids lost through perspiration. 25 liters of water will help you for several days. Case of army rations. 4. That's right. This is your basic food intake. If the army prepared it, you know it's going to be dense, etc., etc. Maps of the Atlantic Ocean. 13. Worthless without equipment. Worthless without equipment. Navigational equipment. A floating seat cushion. 9. Useful as a life preserver, but nothing else. And you're already on that rubber craft. 10-liter can of oil petrol mixture. 2. The first word I said was oil, which means it floats on water. The second most critical item for signaling, the mixture will float on water and can be ignited with the box of matches that you have. Number 2 is that 10 liters. Small transistor radio. 5. Answer is 12. You will be out of range of any radio signal or station. No mosquitoes, no radio. 20 square feet of opaque plastic sheeting. 10. The answer is 5. It can be used to collect rainwater and shelter from the wind and waves. A can of shark repellent. 10. It's to repel sharks. 1 bottle of 160% proof rum. This will just determine what kind of personality you have. 1. Anyone? 11. It contains 80% alcohol, which means it can be used as an antiseptic for injuries. Very dangerous if drunk, as it would cause the body to dehydrate, the opposite of what you want. Not you're sitting in the sun enjoying yourself. 15 feet of nylon rope. 8. It can be used to lash people. It literally says that. It can be used to lash people or equipment together. To prevent being washed overboard. There are a variety of other uses, but none very high. 2 boxes of chocolate bars. 6. It's your reserve food supply. Number 7, an ocean fishing kit with pole. Sorry, that is number 7. An ocean fishing kit with pole is number 7. It's ranked lower than chocolate because there's no guarantee that you will catch any fish. I guarantee you will not catch any fish. So now calculate your numbers. If you're not figuring it out, the lower the better. Calculate your numbers. Ready? Mega, ready? No. Too many numbers. Okay, here we go. How many of you got 0 to 25? That's what I thought. Excellent. You demonstrated great survival skills. You are rescued. How many of you got 26 to 32? Whoa. 26 to 32, Usha? Okay, a few of you. I'm surprised, especially knowing all of you. Good. Above average results, good survival skills, you are rescued. How many of you got 33 to 45? Okay? Average. You're seasick, you're hungry, you're tired, and you are rescued. 46 to 55. Okay. Fair. Dehydrated. Barely alive. It was tough, but you were rescued. 56 to 70? 56 to 70? Poor. Rescued, but only just in time. 71 and over. Very poor. The commentary is great. Ready? Oh dear. Your empty raft is washed up on a beach weeks after the search was called off. The word rescued is not written over here. That's funny. What's the point of this practice? What is the point of this practice? To help us determine what's important. And we're laughing a lot because we're not in this position yet. We're actually in a far worse position. This is a physical ocean. We are in a metaphysical ocean. Whenever obstacles come in our lives, they are the Creator's call to come back. To come back. Which is why Mother Kunti prayed for obstacles, correct? During that time of crisis, she remembered what the purpose of her being alive is more clearly. In the language of this workshop, I know so many people really well in this room. We all work hard. Today's workshop particularly is to get us to work smart, to be one with vision, to be one with insight or intention. Those who delay working on happiness become workaholics. That's a disease of society, correct? People are alcoholics, people are drug addicts, people are workaholics too. They're trying to find happiness in the context rather than the content. If I rank things poorly here, I'm delaying my survival, which means I'm not going to be rescued. Through this practice, there's a great emphasis on simple living, high thinking. Start with simple signaling devices. Then get into your water, then your food. Simplicity. Simplicity encourages high living. So much of this I focused on every day. Saying no, using lists, reading about aloneness, not suffering from FOMO, the fear of missing out. I read a Harvard Business School report that said they asked people to list what they want in life. Then they asked them to list what they're doing in life, and there was no connection. Definitively, we want to be happy. That's the only want we have. It's called dukkha nivritti sukha prapti. But are we moving in that direction? This workshop is a check, as I mentioned. Each day I've given you a spontaneous check to see how much you remember. Because if you remember, you can practice. If you cannot remember, you cannot practice. If you can't remember, you came here for 3 evenings to listen to my ideas. But if you remember, you've come here for 3 evenings to remind yourself of your ideas. If they're my ideas, you don't have to follow them. If they're your ideas, you do have to follow them. The movie Inception plays on this so clearly. When it becomes his own idea, he acts on it. And they have to go that deep for that to become his own idea. You can't just take on the waking state or the initial layers. It has to become your own idea. I'm not going to give you a spontaneous check today. Not going to give you one. I simply am emphasizing the need for this to become your own idea. Okay? These practices, the first practice showed us the power of our mind, guided imagery, right? Yesterday's practice was focusing on how much we're worth, how much we waste. For those who work professionally, you're paid by hour in a certain way. And if I'm watching 30 hours of TV, I'm wasting all of that, all of those resources. To balance demand and supply. It's not okay to feel stress. Our son Vyasa, if his muscles always felt stress, someone should call Child Protection Services on us. That's not okay, correct? He has to relax, he has to sleep. He grows as much in sleep as he does while being awake. Why do we do it to ourselves then? That balance. How many of you tried your RAD from yesterday? How many of you succeeded in your RAD? Your reflection adventure of the day was to use work never ends 10 times in conversations, correct? Why I asked you to do it, see how carefully you have to insert this. So you're thinking about it so much. What are they going to say about this? Are they going to think I'm a weirdo? And so on. And you thought about it so carefully, maybe you came to start to internalize this, that work never ends. Now I give you your RAY. RAY stands for Reflection Adventure of the Year, years. It's up to you when we see each other next, if we see each other next. How many messages have you been given in a very defined way over 3 evenings? 12. 4 verbs on Sunday, 4 more verbs yesterday, and today 4 visions, correct? 4 verbs, 4 verbs, 4 visions, all in English. Maximum 2 or 3 words. How many months are there? Magically, for March, and you're lucky, there's only a few more days in March. But tomorrow's epic. Tomorrow's the first day of spring. It's like the creator was telling Seattle, look, spring is coming, even though tomorrow you're not going to feel it. But for a week, right? Record-breaking temperatures and sunlight. Tomorrow's a full moon too, for those who follow Purnima. March becomes associate with good quality friends. April becomes focus on quality work. May becomes invest in quality thoughts. Now suppose we meet in March of next year. What would February have become? Why you work pulls your work. And then if we meet in March, that whole year this workshop would have been lived by you. So that's your array. Every month you now have a reminder. I have a flight tonight at 10:50 to go to Detroit, to go to Buffalo, to drive to Niagara. So unfortunately, we don't have the spontaneous chat and the questions. But a few points I want to share with all of you before I leave. Firstly, one practice that can change our lives forever is to read more. To read inspiring books. To read inspiring books in the morning. And ideally these books should be in print, as in a physical copy. I said use paper planners, you read paper books. Our eyes are in front of a screen enough. We don't need more. This backpack weighs more than Mega does. Because there's so many physical books and it's much easier for me to put it all on a Kindle or an Amazon reader. But I find it to be so effective to not be distracted by anything but that paper, the words on the paper. We have plenty of books here. Chinmaya Mission has over 900 publications, CDs, DVDs, etc. As you leave here, find that book to read every morning that's inspiring for 20 minutes. Specifically, Swami Ishwarananda will be coming to Seattle May 18th, and he'll be facilitating a workshop on the life of I. This is a book he guided. So this is a particular book that you should take up and try to finish it by May 18th. You have 2 months. That way when Swamiji speaks, I'm already oriented towards that language or towards that flow of thought. So that's available. This summer, Chinmaya Mission Seattle is going to have a kids camp. Maybe not the first kids camp. I've done a kids camp here, but is doing a kids camp. Now more than ever, we have a presence of a lot of evolving adults, biologically, mentally to be questioned, but biologically, responsibility-wise. So it's a new, era or aura for Chinmaya Mission Seattle. So we're going to have our kids camp, and the dates for that are?
August
5th to the 9th. So right after Gurudev's Mahasamadhi, which is August 3rd. So stay tuned for that. Set that time off, right? Like we do for vacations, etc. I can't be with all of you physically, but we're lucky that we live in a strong virtual world also. I use a lot of social media to stay in people's radars, for people to stay in my radar too. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you have these portals and we're not connected, then let's connect on that. We have a website that we've created for a lot of this work called Vichara Gurukula. Vichara, because that's what makes a human being, is the more they reflect, the more human they are. Gurukula, because my dream is to build a physical Gurukula. This is virtual, where not my son, but my grandchild, Mukunda's grandchild, will go and study there for 10 years. Like the rishis used to, like Bhagavan Krishna used to. Where there'll be a focus on a sacred subject first and secular. So all of this work in this virtual portal is building that momentum for that. We have lots of weekly classes and monthly satsangs. Tomorrow is our community call. We do this on Facebook Live. It's so epic. The last month when we did our Facebook Live session, there was 40,000 views. That's amazing that social media can do that. 1,000 views. 40,000 people learned about ahimsa. I'm secretly teaching Bhagavad Gita in this. Not that anybody knows it, but secretly that's what I teach. The virtues from chapter 13. So I take up that. So let's be connected through social media, through Vichara Gurukula. And most specifically, we're having a virtual Jnana Yajna next month called Magical Mantras. You know, like in Harry Potter, if they learn these magical spells? Yeah, sure. But they're all jada. They're all inert, you know, creating a force field, turning someone to a snake, etc. Our mantras can transform us from dependently joyous to independently joyous. We're going to take up 12 mantras that we all know by word but not by thought. This is April 15th to the 18th, which is right after Bhagwan Rama's Jayanti and right before Bhagwan Hanuman's Jayanti. So a beautiful time. That's all on Vichara Gurukula too. It's been a very pleasant, peaceful 3 days here in Seattle. Number one, because of your steadiness and sincerity. Each evening we've had 50, 60, 80 people join us. And it's hard. The traffic is intense in Seattle, and you work long hours and study long hours. But you're here, which shows your greatness. So I'm appreciative of that. I've felt the peace. And people who worked hard to sing bhajans, to set up the altar, to host a plethora of people, Madhav, Sumanji, Shankarji, myself. Grateful. The easy route is not to stay at a hotel. I go to centers where they say stay in a hotel. And it sucks. You know, I'm going to speak at SunTrust Bank and I'm so not looking forward to staying in a hotel and taking a taxi. It's just not, it's not peaceful. It's too rajasic. But here, I don't have to experience all of that. As we really formally complete now, if any of you would like to offer dakshina, then do offer that to Bhagavan Krishna and Gurudev. And this work is so Seattle can keep on growing externally so we can grow internally, Chinmaya Mission Seattle. And I mentioned all of the projects that I'm personally working on with our CSKs. Our movie, our curriculum, our book, our physical portal, running from the mind. Your contributions will go to making this all a reality. Complete? Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhaved. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So you share what you have to, and then I'm going to try to make this even more efficient. Go ahead.
Vivek ji, on behalf of everyone here, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude. It's been a pleasant 3 days. It's been just fantastic. And Vivek ji has kindly accepted to add us in his calendar for next year. Vivek ji will be coming. And we're very grateful. And all of you who've been here, Please talk to your friends about this. Because Vivek, what he brings is, how can you make Vedanta applicable in your life today? That one soundbite, as we call it, what is that one thing that you can remember throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year, right? So please, I remember in one of the satsangs, we were talking about like quality friends. Friends are the one who, like Vivek was saying, who push you to do better. Bring a friend the next time. Be a good friend. Talk to your friends. I'm sure a lot of you were invited by someone and that's why you came. I was invited by someone for the first time and that's why I came in. Changed my life. So please, get it on your calendar. Remember it's coming a year from now. Bring your friends a year from now. Vivek spoke about all the weekly classes, podcasts, YouTube videos. We will also add a link to our website. There's a page that is about Vivek's discourse. We will add more information there. Please look out for that. And if any of you do not receive emails from us and would like to, we will leave a note there. Gopiji will leave a sheet of paper there. Please add your email address and we will get you on or you can go online on our website and click, would like to get a newsletter, and you will start subscribing for our newsletter. Facebook, we have a very vibrant Facebook presence. We speak about the events that are going to happen in future, sometimes different interesting articles or thoughts that just kind of, let's use social media to empower us, right? So please like us on Facebook. And with that, thank you so much for coming. Our gratitude, Vivekji, gratitude. And today, sorry, one last thing. Chicks are going to do the aarti today, and after that, everyone else, please just doing aarti is not something someone has to say, please come do aarti. It's something that you should feel that I want to do aarti. So please go ahead, make a line, and let's get the aarti line.
So aarti by our chicks. As soon as they're finished, those who would like to offer dakshina, you can offer dakshina here. I will sit here as long as I can.